Welcome to BBT, the podcast, where we are becoming better together every single day. Today, I have a special guest with us. Welcome, Miss Renee Back. I will go ahead and give her a little introduction, and then I will let her take it away from there. So, Renee is a branding photographer along with her husband, Kevin, in Kentucky, as well as a photography educator and a professional hype woman for small businesses. I can attest to that. She believes in authenticity and absolutely loves helping others see themselves how amazing they truly are through someone else's eyes. Thank you, Renee, for being here. It is a pleasure to have you.
I am so happy to be here with you, Brie. I've been looking forward to this. I've watched your business grow so much, and you have been all over my feed for the last year, and I'm like just super excited to be here with you.
Oh, thank you. It has been a pleasure. We actually got to meet through like a live event together. When was this? In St. Louis, maybe?
May, yeah.
Yes. And so we became fast friends there, and I got to meet her duo, her partner, Kevin, and watch them behind the scenes from a little bit of intimidation, if I'm being honest, because I've never worked with a photographer. And so I was just very taken by you two because you work together and you are also just very approachable and loving and kind. And for some reason, that was not the view I had of photographers in my mind at the time. So you blew my mind and you opened my world to like, okay, wait, maybe I do want a brand photographer and I don't have to be so overwhelmed and intimidated by you that I can talk to you. So thank you for being my person to ask all my really dumb questions to over the past few months.
Yeah, there's no dumb questions at all, but yeah, photographers aren't like the boogeyman, we're not like out to get you. And we really enjoy what we do. So we hope that comes across in how we talk to people. We're just people too. I mean, every person that you meet is just another person.
That's true. That's true. So today we're going to debunk some of I'm going to call it the intimidation and some of the questions that I had, because again, I've never had a brand shoot and I love branding and I love the work I do online. However, I've been hiding from this like the boogeyman. And so Renee is going to actually be my brand shoot photographer in the new year. So you guys are going to get kind of the behind the scenes, like, how do you prepare for this? Like, what do I need to ask that I don't even know I need to ask? She's already taught me so much that I had no concept of. So we're going to learn from her as I kind of go through this experience. So hopefully if you've never done a brand shoot, or if you've been like thinking about like when is the right time, she can answer all this for us.
Yes, I am prepared to ask or answer whatever you throw my way. Just
Awesome.
shoot, and I'll do my best. I don't know everything, but what I know, I share.
She is downplaying how good she really is. So you guys will get all of her information at the end to go creep. She and her husband both, like, they have a masterful skill when it comes to this. That being said, tell us, how did you get started actually like working together as well? Give me a little bit of your story into this field and then working with Kevin.
So, I didn't start out as a brand photographer. I started out as a portrait photographer and actually started up my business again in 2020, which was not the year to start an in-person business. But from that we grew and we decided that we were better together. I started photographing myself and just had him come along with me, and I realized when I got them back, his pictures were always better than mine, which still irritates me to this point. But I love it because we together are able to create, and we just work together so well. And so he's my partner in life. So I thought, why not let him be the partner in business? And we started a little small with branding. We did a few collaborations with ones, and one of the main ones being our CrossFit gym. And to this day, we still collaborate with our CrossFit gym and get to give them amazing brand photos. But since then, we've been able to even fly to different states and take pictures of brands and just go all over the place. And we love it.
Oh, that's amazing. Oh, and you get to travel for it. And I bet you just meet some of the coolest people too.
We do. People that, even brands that we didn't even know it was a thing, getting to put them out to the world and help people know that they exist we love that. And we get to meet the coolest people.
That's awesome. So walk me back just a little bit in case somebody doesn't know, like, what is a brand shoot and like who is that for?
So a brand shoot is really for anyone who has a business. So it can go all the way from personal branding with life coaches and motivational speakers and website designers, anything like that, all the way to they don't say as much branding once they get into things like Nike and all of that. They more say commercial, but it's all the same thing. A brand photographer is what photographs every single one of those things. So it is what helps get a business's message out to the world and helps people see who they are, what they stand for, what kind of people they want to work with, because with messaging, it repels people just as much as it draws people in. You're looking for your people. And so a brand photographer has to take all of those concepts and put them into an image.
Okay. Ooh. Okay. How do you do that?
Very carefully. Um, so it's a process. But the process really starts with us getting to know the brand and the person behind the brand. Some brands are just product forward and we don't even know the people behind it. But even with those, there's a process to get to understand what's important to the company. But more so, we like to deal with personal brands, with people who, like you are the face of your brand.
Yeah.
And so we sit down with the person behind the brand and we ask them a lot of questions, not interrogating, right? We're not trying to crack a case here, but we really want to get at the heart of what's important to you. Who are your people? Who are you trying to attract? What are you trying to accomplish with these photos? Because everyone has a different goal with their business. Are you launching a new product? Do you have a new course coming out? Are you trying to help people see that you're approachable? Are you trying to look more professional and maybe not as approachable? Everybody has their things. So we really dig into who that brand is. And through all of that, we are able to put together, okay, then these are the type of images that you will need to be able to portray that. But we can't know what to take unless we actually know the people.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense too. And definitely like some of the people that I follow that I've just watched grow over the years too, I've seen them kind of transform their brand over time. And so I'm going to have a lot of questions, of course, when we start doing this, but how much how much does the person that's coming in to you wanting to brand shoot, like how much needs to be absolutely defined and nailed down and known before they arrive at you? Because right now I'm like, oh, I have so much work to do already, but so walk me down.
No, it's actually I don't want to say easy because nothing good in life is easy, but it's as easy as possible because all of the work is on the photographer. If you find the right photographer, they will ask you all the questions. We've been on so many discovery calls where we're asking people questions and they're like, I didn't realize this about my brand.
Ooh.
Like I didn't even know who my ideal client was until you asked me these questions. And we love that because that makes it easy on the brand, on the person behind the brand.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes they're able to refine their message because of what we talked about in order to take their pictures. And so through the questionnaire, I give people about a month to be able to go through the questionnaire, to really think about it. And it doesn't take a month. You can sit down and do it in 20, 30 minutes. But sometimes it takes a little bit to think about. And as someone's going through their business, they're like, oh, I can answer that question now because I just realized it. Yeah. And so it's not something to be intimidated by at all. It's something that, just like we're talking here and you're asking me questions, I should be able to to tell you what I do for a living, it's the same with you. I could ask you, who's your ideal client? What's important to you? And you would just be able to answer me. So
Yep.
that's really all somebody needs to know in order to have their brand pictures taken.
Okay, beautiful. I love the clarity piece that comes with that, because you're right. So many people, and I have been very guilty of this, we change and we pivot, or like we never are speaking to like that one person with one message. There are a lot. So having somebody sit down to be like, okay, what do you want the brand feel and the aesthetic to be like? That helps a lot when it comes to social media growth. From your perspective behind the lens and with your own work and branding, like how important is that really?
It really is important because we need to reach the people that we're trying to reach. And we know when we click on an ad, or we scroll through social media, or we look at a website, or we even watch a commercial on TV, we either are, oh, I want to start thinking about this, or we're like, flip the channel, right? And so that's something that we really need to nail down. And our images, a lot of times people think, it doesn't matter. I can just use this stock image, this will go with the message I'm trying to say. I'll just find something on Canva and I'll put this stock image in there. But most coaches have heard of the know, like, trust factor. And if people get to know us and they are used to what our pictures look like and all of that, and they trust us, they're going to be a lot more likely to come with us or to us than people that, they look and they're like, I can tell that one's stock. I can tell that one's stock. Like, I've never seen this person's face. I don't know what's going on. Or we see the same picture across like 10 different brands and we're like, okay, so what's the difference between these brands? Whereas if we see pictures when we're going through and we're automatically like, oh, I know that one is, I'll just stick with it again. I know that one's Nike because it looks the same as all the other Nike ads. Then they get to know us as a person. And that goes together with the stories we put on Instagram and all of that. It all works together for people to really know who we are as a brand.
Yes. Okay, beautiful. All right. So in theory, say I'm like, okay, I want to, fill people with hope, and I want to scream possibility, and I want people to still see me as approachable. And then I'm like, and I want to be confident on camera day. And then I show up, and then, all the thoughts come up. I'm like, I don't know what to do with my hands. Like, I don't, how do I pose? Like, right. Where do I put things? How do you help that person actually show up in that confident state and like in what they say they want to be when all the nerves and all the things take over? Like, how do you make that match on camera day?
Anytime we do something new, and even if it's not new, if it's outside of our comfort zone, we show up nervous. But it is the job of your photographer to make you comfortable. And most of the time, there's different ways. Like how I said, we're a hype team. And so when we are photographing and within the first 5 minutes, we show our client the back of the camera, and we're authentic too. So we're not going to give a compliment if it's not true. Like, there are times that I take a picture and I see the back of the camera and I'm just like, nope. Okay, next pose. Because that happens, right? But when we take a photo and we're like, they nailed this one, we show them the back of the camera within the first 5 minutes. And even people really every single client we have comes to us and says, I'm not the best. I'm the most awkward person there ever was. And I might be,
Yes.
I might be fun in real life and we can get along and all of this. But then when you get me behind a camera, I'm like, right. And so when we take ones who say, I do this weird thing with my lips, or, I'm whatever. And we show them the back of the camera in the first 5 minutes and they're like, okay, like, I look amazing. And we're like, yeah, you do. It helps the rest of the session, because when somebody can look at themselves and be like, okay, I really am nailing this. Like, I'm awesome. then the confidence just comes out. The first 5 minutes might be, we talk and we joke and all of that, and that gets the person comfortable. And Kevin and I have this weird, like, little bicker thing we do, which is real. Like, we're not fighting, but like we just play off each other, and it gets people laughing, and then the laugh is natural, and then we can show you the back of the camera and you're like, okay, I look awesome. And so once you realize that everything is going fine, the nerves start melting away. And it is your photographer's job to make you comfortable and to make it seem like you're not even really on a photo shoot. Like, it should just feel like you're hanging out with your friends and you're just talking and laughing, and they just happen to have cameras in their hands. So that's how we do it.
Okay, the more you talk about this, the more I'm like, yes, I'm very excited for this now. I'm very excited for when our date comes up. Yay. Okay. And you two are like, that is something that I was so drawn to you guys when we were at that event together. I just happened to sit down at the table with you, I think. And maybe we had been watching each other a little bit in our virtual world, but then in person, it's so different when you actually get to talk to humans and feel their energy and see them smile, and just, it's a totally different experience. So I'm so grateful that I did get to just sit at your table and meet him too. And you guys are like, you're hiding your superpower here about how the two of you work together so well, so well. Okay, so the deep question now, what advice would you give to somebody that works with their partner? I have a lot of coaches that work together, and that's a wonderful relationship. However, sometimes we need advice on how to make that a working relationship. Give me yours.
Yeah, every couple is different. So, I mean, I'm not a marriage counselor, right? Or a couples counselor, but with Kevin and we have to remember our strengths. So we try to play off each other's strengths. And we also have to remember that just as perfectionism is wrong, and I shouldn't expect myself to be perfect, it's okay if I fail. We need to expect that of each other. We're just two imperfect humans that are going to make mistakes. We're going to say things that irritate each other, but we try to find the humor in the situation rather than attack. And speak of attack, is when something comes up, we try to remember that we need to attack the situation and not each other, because the only reason why we tend to get at each other is because we're stressed out because of a certain situation. Yep. Right. And so if we can just take a step back and be like, no, we actually love each other. We're just irritated at this situation. It helps if we can work as a team. And communication. That's always the best advice that we ever hear is, when you have an issue, go to them, but maybe not in the heat of the moment. So when you're really irritated with each other, because it happens, I love Kevin and he loves me, we get irritated at each other. It happens. And so sometimes we just have to finish our whatever we're doing and have time to think about it and on our own. And then we can come back and say, this is what hurt me, or this is what, because we don't want to in front of clients be like, you're killing me.
Although it make us laugh. So
yeah, it would. And we do that kind of stuff where we're just like, he tells the corniest jokes and I'm like, really? Like another joke? Like, this is how we're going to do this session. You're just going to tell jokes the whole time. And so we do like stuff like that. But when there's times where we'll bump into each other, right? We're both trying to get the same picture. Sometimes and so there are looks sometimes, but we try not to let the client see that. Yeah. But it really, it boils down to communicating. If we had this thing where when we started, actually even for a whole year, maybe even longer than a year, we'd get home and I'd go through the pictures. I always go through Kevin's first because I'm like, his are amazing. So once I go through his, then I'm like, okay, even if none of mine turn out, like it's okay because Kevin's got this. He would say, well, I would have got that shot, but you were in my way. And I'm like, it takes a few seconds to say, hey, I need to get this. Do you mind stepping out of the way? So when I was able to communicate that at a time that frustrations weren't high, then every session after that, he's like, hey, once you get the shot, if you can just move a little to your left, then I have something pretty awesome here. And I'm like, cool. So that's what it boils down to, is communication and remembering why you got together as a couple in the first place.
Yes.
Like, sometimes the things that we loved about the other person are now what irritate us. And we're like, wait a second, this is the whole reason why I wound up with this person, because I loved this about them. So just taking a step back and realizing that it helps couples to work together. You just gotta let the little stuff go.
Yeah. I love what you said too about let's attack the situation or attack the challenge and not each other. That was very powerful.
Yeah, I
So
probably stole that from somebody else.
I'm going to credit it to you today because I was like, ooh, good one. I'm going to steal that one. So speaking of attacking the challenge, okay. What do I not even know to ask at this point? Because I've never done this. Like, what would you tell somebody that's in my, like, I am a brand, I guess, me, I'm a life coach. I do a million things. What do I not even know to ask to get ready for this?
There are a lot of things people don't know, and a good photographer will help you through all of those. They'll help you through what to wear, like what location, all of that. But one of the biggest things, sometimes people just choose a photographer because they like their work. So I have a couple things I'm gonna say. So one, ask a photographer if they do one certain style all the time, or if they're able to edit to match your brand, because that's very important. Because with the copyright laws, once you get your pictures, you do not have the right to edit them. So if you want them to match your brand, your photographer better be able to edit them to match your brand. So there are different photographers that some will do moody, some will do light and airy, some will do the high contrast where there's lots of shadows, and all of that. And so ask that to your photographer. We like to match the brand. We can edit all different ways. So we can do that, but there's some photographers who are very comfortable only shooting light and airy or only shooting with flash. And so that's one thing. Because most people don't know that, like, you don't have the right to edit your photos. Like, even putting a filter.
I had no idea. I was like, oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, even putting a filter on your photos is technically illegal, but most photographers just let it go. It's something that photographers will tell each other, like, behind the scenes of, what can I do to get my people to stop putting a filter on? And we're just like, let it go. It's okay. But technically, if somebody wanted to go after somebody, like, imagine a photographer shooting for Nike and they get it exactly the way it's supposed to look. And then Nike goes and changes the whole thing and says, this is what we're putting out. Well, that's not the image that was created. So yeah, copyright laws are huge, so that's one thing.
Okay.
And then another thing is there are different contracts for portraits and for brands. So you can't just hire someone that just takes portraits and they say, oh yeah, I'll do your brand shoot. That sounds fun. And then they give you a contract that says that these are for personal use only. Well, then if you start using them on your website, on your social media, technically that's illegal. So a brand photographer will have a commercial contract that comes with a license, which, just like for your website, you probably licensed fonts. For even paying for Canva, what you're actually paying for is the license to use all of the things that they have given you. Or if you had a logo made, chances are they license that out to you so that you now have the rights to use that because you didn't create it. Same thing with photos. So we will give you a commercial license to use your images, and that commercial use can either be strictly digital, so it can be just social media, web, anything, any of the ads you create for Facebook, anything like that. Or it can simply be print. If somebody says, hey, I want something on a billboard, then we license that specifically for how many billboards, how long. Or it can be both. We can say you have the complete use of your images, and we also tell you for how long. So it might be 1 year, 2 years, 5 years, or forever. There's a different price sometimes that comes with each of those. So that's most of the time people don't realize a lot of times they just hire a photographer and say, cool, the photographer should know what they're talking about. And there are a lot of photographers that don't know that their contract says for personal use only. And that means they probably won't go after the brand, right? They probably won't be like, oh, you're using these for, but legally they have the right to. So if they figure out a year or two from now that,
Right.
hey, these people are using it commercially, they legally would have the right to tell you, you have to take them down because I only gave them to you for personal use. So it's better to just right from the beginning, start with somebody who is a branding photographer and has the right legalities down.
See, and these are things that, again, I would have had, I had no idea until Renee walked me through this before we even did this podcast. Cause I was like, wait, what? I had no idea. I'm very used to, I'm a DIY girl so far. Like I've done it all myself. So now I'm like, yeah, you, everyone kind of starts there. And I think a lot of my audience is getting to that phase where, okay, we've been doing this for a little bit now. Like we're really taking sales and marketing and branding more seriously. So at what phase would you say would be like the best phase to go ahead and like pull the trigger, get all the brand, like have the licenses, do all of this and really kind of upgrade that brand?
I think really somebody, as soon as they want their brand to be distinct, that's when I think they should do it. So people put a lot of effort into on Instagram, like, right, I have to have all the same colors on my words on, some people do, some don't, but as soon as you want it to be distinct, it doesn't have to be this massive, expensive session.
Yeah.
There are small sessions. A lot of brand photographers do mini sessions several times a year, where people can come in, get 10, 15 images and just, okay, now I actually have things to put on my website. Because on your website, especially, a lot of coaches start not with websites because you can sell all kinds of things just on social media. You just send them a link but especially if you have a website, I highly recommend that because you're going to want your website to look different than anyone else's. But also, if you've been doing it for a little while and you don't really want to like have to scroll through your phone forever to be like, wait, what picture do I post? Right? We all do that. We're like, okay, I know I wanted to get this message out, but I need to put a picture with it. And what picture am I going to put with the thing today? And so if we get to that point, it's really best because then we can just have this little mobile app. Well, with us, not all photographers do this, but our gallery has a mobile app where it's just on your phone and you scroll through and you're like, okay, that picture, and you put it on Instagram. So yeah, there's never a wrong time. There are priorities before that.
Yeah.
So if you're just starting out and you have zero money and it's probably not the time to do it because your money needs to be spent on things that are actually going to get you money. And I'm not saying brand photos won't get you money. Otherwise I wouldn't do it, right? They are huge. Every time we see an ad, we're like, oh, I want that, because that's what our eyes do. They make us want things. So that's where pictures come in. But if we've been in business for a little bit and we realize, okay, my brand is important, that's the time to go out and get pictures. And you can update them regularly too. Some people do just one giant shoot every year, every 2 years, and some do 4 little sessions throughout the year so that they have fresh content for all their different, for holidays or for their offers coming out or things like that.
So with coaches, what would you recommend from your expertise? Like what? Because I'm a person too that I'm a little intimidated by doing like one big one that's going to last forever because I change my mind a lot. So like what's the best?
And I recommend we often don't license forever anyway, because things change, right? People's bodies change, people have kids, people put new products out, or people their whole, like, their colors change and everything, and they're rebranding. And so we don't often do like forever, but for coaches, I recommend usually like every year, every 2 years, usually after 2 years, you're probably refreshing. But most coaches, unless they have actual products coming out and things, it's not going to change a ton throughout the year. So we have somebody bring several outfits to their session, and they can bring different props, and even we can make it look like, okay, they're wearing sleeveless in this picture and they're wearing a sweater in this one. Like, you can wait to put your pictures out for different times of the year. But yeah, usually every year or 2 years is what I recommend for coaches, because they don't have like constantly changing things. Usually it's the same message coming out.
Yep. Okay.
Yep.
Awesome. Trying to think of other questions again where I'm like, I don't even know what I don't know. So you brought up like outfits and clothing, and that has been one too. I've been just like, I see people like wearing the same suit jacket over and over and over on Instagram, and like that's their brand. Like, how do you help people like put together the colors and like the clothing, or like what do I do with this?
We have options where we can do that or we cannot. You know, it's up to some brands have their stuff down and they're like, yeah, I don't need any help at all in my clothes. Like I'm good. And then others even now we would charge more if we did this. But some even want us to like go shopping with them. Like
Yeah.
help me pick out stuff that's actually going to look good. But we do send with our questionnaires and all that, we do send a guide that helps ones pick out what's important to them. And we usually try to guide along, like, you're probably going to want at least one, if not two, professional outfits. Then you're probably going to want maybe your workout outfit, because that's very important to high performance coaches, because your mind's not right if your body's all out of whack, right? And so a lot of, and then there's, you might want your like lounge around the house, like, hey, this is what I actually look like when I'm doing my, when I'm putting stuff on Instagram, like I'm just, my hair is up in this little bun thing and I'm wearing my sweatpants, and it just depends on how the brand wants to be viewed. So once we know how they want to be viewed, if they check the box that says professional, I'm not going to have them bring a pair of their sweatpants to the session. But if they choose one that says fun, we might have one kind of loud outfit and we might have one sweatpants outfit. And, so we do help guide through that. If somebody needs us, unless they need us to just go shopping with them or come in their closet, that's messages that we do back and forth to help them see what they need to wear. And it also depends on how involved the colors, because there's not just one color to your brand. So how the colors are involved, they may be important or they may not. Like if somebody just wants to wear a black suit in this picture and a white blouse with a gray, not gray, I wouldn't put white and gray together, but like just neutrals, like a camel colored top in this, that's fine too. It really just depends on, do you want these splashes of color throughout? So yeah, it's different for each brand. So that's where the photographer comes in, because they should be able to guide the brand and tell them how to do it.
Beautiful. Okay, so we've got clothing down. We've got location. This is another question. Here's my limiting belief coming full. My house isn't cool enough to have somebody come in and like shoot my home office and that kind of thing. And I changed the walls and now I have ivy over here. Like I just changed stuff. So like, where do you go shoot these brand photos?
So I have the same limiting belief, because my house was built in 1932 and it's not one of those cool old houses. Like it's so even taking a selfie in there or trying to record a reel, I'm like, where do I take this? So
totally that's the challenge.
So most of the time we do not photograph in people's houses. This past week, we had a photographer that she has 5 kids and she has this big glorious house with lots of natural light, and her office is so cute and just everything was on brand for her. So, and she was also a branding photographer. So that just made sense to do there. But most of the time, we give you options. So there are things called peer space. Cities have them, where you can look up all of these different places you can rent, and you can look at Airbnbs. Now with Airbnbs, you have to talk to the owner and say, is it okay if we photograph in here? Because some do not want their place used commercially. But there are a lot of Airbnbs that are like, yeah, money's money. So I don't care what you're using it for, as long as you leave it clean. And then it really depends on the brand, because we did a fitness brand where everything was outdoors, because she brought her kettlebells and we went to a parking garage where the light was coming in a really cool way. And she wanted a lot of black and white and a lot of high contrast. And so we chose locations even that were outside that would totally fit her brand.
Nice.
So when we talk to a brand, like I'm going to with you here soon, we will discuss what is the look you're going for. So some might want to do a few photos in a coffee shop. So we have to go to that coffee shop, ask them, is it okay if we come, as long as we don't set up all these lights and all this, you know, whatever. Some want pictures in a library, so it really depends on what's important to that brand as to what the location is. But again, that is the photographer's job to figure out a good location, and we work with the brand. So if we were going to come to your place, I am not as familiar with Columbus as you are. So I can get on all of those websites, but you could point me in the right direction and just say, oh yeah, there's this place, this place, this place. And together we check them out and find out what would work best for you.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
That was my last lingering, what about, where do we go? I think of my quote unquote, kind of dumb questions, but is there
None
anything
of those were dumb.
Is there anything else I'm missing that people often ask? You want to go?
I don't think so, because really it's just every question that somebody has, they get answered when we do the brand consultation. So if there are lingering questions, when you book, I guess maybe this could be one last thing. When you fill out an inquiry with a photographer, that does not mean you've booked them. Yeah. So you can go, they can send you a questionnaire, you guys can talk, and then you can still be like, you know what, we're not the right fit for each other. I have to go find somebody else. And a photographer should not take offense at that, just like a coach should not take offense if a photographer says we're not the right fit for each other, because the photographer is trying to protect you. If somebody says, I want all these lights and high contrast and all these shadows, and a photographer shoots light and airy, and they say, this is what I want, they send them a Pinterest board and say, this is what I want my pictures to look like. The photographer can say, hey, listen, I have this friend and this friend and this friend that will all fit your needs perfectly. Go reach out to one of them. Beautiful. A good photographer is community over competition. So if we don't have the answer, we're going to point you in the right direction. Yeah. So don't feel bad if you look into a photographer and you decide not to. But the one thing I highly recommend is, if you inquire with someone, it doesn't matter if they're a photographer or anybody, if you inquire with somebody and you decide to go a different direction, just email them and say, hey, I decided not to work with you, because we have this whole list of people we're working with and we try to keep everybody balanced and it's all organized, and it's hard for us to keep reaching out to somebody and saying, hey, whereas if they just say, so that's it.
What I'm hearing too is there's so much more nurturing that happens ahead of time and then during. I didn't expect, and again, I was just putting my blinders onto all of this because I was intimidated by it. But I love how much thought really goes into this about the relationship and the feel and the vibe, as silly as that is. That matters a whole lot.
Yeah, it's the actual photo session is 1/10 of the work we do. Yeah. So and that goes even for portraits. If you go get your pictures taken, when they photograph you, if they photograph you for an hour, that means they're doing 9 hours of something else. Yeah. Branding is more like a 20th. We show up to the session and we already know for us, every photographer is different. So if you choose another one, and that's totally okay, choose whoever you want. If we show up to a session with an outline that shows example pictures we're going to take, and it says you're going to be wearing this outfit and we're going to be in this location and these are the props you need, so that the whole session just goes smoothly. When you show up to a session, if you feel unprepared, that means not enough work was done ahead of time. Like almost all the work is done ahead. Then we show up to the session, and then after that, it's just editing.
And so
But
that work is not on the client either. That's on the photographer making sure, right?
100%. The only thing we need from the client is to answer our questionnaire,
Yeah.
to do our consultation call. And if we've asked them, hey, get a Pinterest board together just so I can get the view of the aesthetics you need, that's on the client.
Okay.
But everything else, all the work ahead of time is on the photographer. The only other thing I would say is once we guide you towards your clothes, it's going through your closet or going shopping and being like, okay, this, right? We can't do that for you unless you pay us to do it. And we'll gladly take your money to go shopping.
Let's go shopping, Renee.
But yeah, there's almost everything is on the photographer, and it does come at a price. You know, branding photos are not as inexpensive as portraits, but you can probably tell with all we've talked about why.
Yes.
And the other main reason why is because you are making money off these pictures. We're taking the pictures, but you're the one making the money off the pictures, because that's
a good point.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
Yeah. It's the return on investment is amazing. You know, if somebody, and I'm not putting my prices on here, right, because they change as time goes by, but let's say somebody spends $2,000 on brand pictures, and those brand pictures are put in an offer that they're selling $2,000 and 100 people bought it. Look how much they've gotten. And would those 100 people have bought it maybe if they didn't show how professional they were, that they care as much about their brand as they care about you. You know, it's just, yeah.
Yep. Ooh, a lot to very good points. So a little bit of money mindset there too, because I was like, well, I don't know if I need to like show off, or like, I just never thought I was going to be that person. And truly, you are the only reason that I ever even started considering it, is because you've changed my mindset about how I viewed photographers, how I viewed the brand shoots, that it wasn't like just for influencer. Like you've had to help me like kind of change my relationship and really see the value behind it. So let me thank you for that, because you're the reason.
Well, I'm glad. I think it's pretty neat how we met, because before we showed up to that event in May, I was like, who is this girl that's so awesome? And then I was like, this table and there's 2 more seats. And so you think that you sat down at the table, but it was me like drawn to you. So I think it's awesome that this worked. So I can't wait to work with you.
Things do not happen by accident, my friend. Like this has been a couple months coming, but I'm very excited.
Me too.
With that, we can go ahead and end this. This will not be the last you see Renee, and you'll probably see more behind the scenes, if you'll let me, as this kind of unfolds and we actually do the shoot together in a couple months.
I'm really excited about
Me
that.
too. Me too. Okay. With that, how can people now come find you? Maybe they want to hire you, or they want to just investigate your work, learn from your wonderful wisdom.
So our Instagram and our website are exactly the same. So it's Kevin and Renee. Renee has 2 E's .co. So our website's not .com, it's .co. So that's the same as our Instagram. So those are the 2 best places to find us. When you go to our website, click on branding. I mean, you can look anywhere you want. You can look at the education, anything you want. But if you're looking at branding, go there. There's a whole FAQ section. There's, what actually happens, the whole run through. And there's a freebie on there that I think we'll be putting in here as well, that you can click on to prepare you for a brand session. So whether that's with us, or even if you decide to go with another photographer, it's what's going to help you to be able to prepare for it so that you can show up the most confident.
I love it. Thank you so much for this. And remind us again where you're located. And I know it's a cost to travel, but where will you travel if somebody's like, she's speaking to me, I need her?
We are in Southern Kentucky. Yeah, we're in beautiful hills, and it's just beautiful where we live, but we will literally travel anywhere. We prefer to stick to the US, but I mean, if you want to pay to fly us anywhere over the world, you just go for it. But we will travel anywhere. We love to travel. We love seeing new places. So a couple months ago, we flew to Washington, to Seattle, and we really enjoyed that. Most places, if they're within a 10 to 15 hour drive, we'll actually just drive there. Because we also like experiencing stuff as we go. But yeah, we will go literally anywhere, and we are pretty good about not charging a ton for travel fees either. Like, we just want to cover our costs when we travel, but you know, we love meeting people, and we love every state we've been to. I only have 5 left to go to. So
All right. Well, the weird states, I don't know what they are, but those other states need to give her a call. So you have
yeah,
reason.
well, yeah, especially if you're in Louisiana, I really want to go there, or Hawaii or Alaska or Michigan and Oregon. I really want to go to Oregon, but I'm gonna go there whether we take pictures there or not.
There you go. Perfect. Thank you, Renee. This has been an absolute pleasure. And again, you guys will definitely see more of her. Do you have any last words you want to say to our audience before we cut this?
No, just, I mean, they already know this, but just keep being awesome. Like, go out and be amazing and serve the people who you need to serve, and your business will grow, because if you care about other people, that's what's going to help your business. So just keep being amazing.
Oh, amen to that. Thank you so much. We will see you guys next time.